I was talking to a young man recently who has small children, and I was sharing with him, the importance of investing in your kids. And I hate to use this analogy, but it's probably the most readily digestible, and that's that we've all seen that dog that sits in front of his master with a dog treat on his nose, and he's like staring at it cross-eyed, right? And his tail's wagging, and he is in seventh heaven, man. He loves what he's doing. He's watching his master, and he's waiting for that command, and the master says okay, and he flips his nose up and he bites the treat, and everybody wants that dog. I mean, he'll sit, he'll roll over, he'll whatever they want him to do, he does it. And then we've all had the other friend, the other dog, that is just a menace to society. I mean, a dog that's just completely undisciplined. I mean, if their paws are muddy, they're sure to jump up on you, no matter what their master threatens them with. Stay down, and the dog jumps all over you and jumps everybody and is spinning in circles, and its big wet tail is hitting everything. And dogs like that, man, we just say, get this dog away from me. You have, no use for that dog. And in a lot of ways, kids are the same way. I mean, we've seen those kids that are so well behaved and they're so good, and you're like, wow, this kid is amazing. It makes you want to have kids of my own when you're younger, or more kids when you're older. And then that other kid that you just go, man, the inmates are definitely running the asylum. I mean, this kid is just, making everyone miserable around them, and you're just certain that you never want to have kids, or don't want to have a kid like that at any cost. And it really comes down to investment in the end. And I was talking to this friend, and I said, I want you to think for a second about a grand champion dog. Think about a dog show, in London, and it's the grand champion, world championship. I said, what are the odds? What's the likelihood that this dog trainer got there with this dog because he's really good with a rolled up newspaper? I mean, he lights out with a newspaper, man. He can make this dog do whatever he wants. You wouldn't have a grand champion. You'd have a cowering, sniveling dog that was, wetting himself, and that's all you'd have. Or you'd have the other side, which is the smaller percentage of a dog that fights back and growls and snarls and snaps at everybody. But you wouldn't have a grand champion. That only comes from hours, hundreds, maybe thousands of hours of training and rewarding, and training and rewarding, and training and rewarding, and over and over and over, this constant pattern of training and rewarding and encouraging that dog nonstop. When that owner has a million other things they'd like to be doing, they're there working with that dog because they're training a grand champion. And I think there's a lot of parallels. Well, children are infinitely more important, in my opinion. And if they're yours, you think so too. But there are some similarities that can't be denied, because you will never get sweet, tender-hearted, optimistic, positive, obedient children because you're really good with a belt, or you're really good with a paddle, or you're really good at grounding them, or you're really good at telling them what for and giving them, the business. It'll never happen. You might create a better criminal. You might create somebody who's a better sneak, somebody who is slicker at not getting caught, but you won't ever reach their heart. That only comes from thousands of hours of training and rewarding and training. And that reward is not a financial reward. It's not a candy reward. It's your attention. Think about it. That dog that's sitting there with the biscuit on his nose that we talked about earlier, he's in seventh heaven because he has his master's undivided attention. And there's nothing a child on this earth craves more than the undivided attention of their parents. When kids, you've seen kids that are very poorly behaved, shall we say. They're brats, okay? It's an easier word to use. What are they usually doing when they're acting out? They're trying to get the attention of the adults in the room, particularly their parents. That's what they're doing. They're trying to get their attention. So when a child has that undivided attention, and that parent is smiling and saying their name, man, and clapping their hands and giving them a hug and saying, I knew you could do it, that child couldn't be happier or more secure. I remember our oldest daughter, we started training when she was probably 3 or 4 years old, and her name's Savannah. and she would always run to me when she had completed a task that we were training her to do, like something simple like, okay, go pick up that book on the table and put it on the dining room table, and then come back here. And she would do her best like little soldier walk, over there, and pick up the book with both hands and set it on the table, and then do her like best walk back and stand in front of me at attention. And we never told her to, she just did it on her own. And then she would lean over and whisper in my ear and say, Dad, say I knew you could do it. And my wife and I would both get the biggest kick out of that. And I'd say, baby, I knew you could do it. And she would hug me, and I'd hug her, and she'd squeeze my neck, and she loved it. And our kids would beg us to train. I'll talk more about that maybe in upcoming episodes. But I just want to take this brief moment to encourage you as a parent, man, to invest in your kids. I don't care how old they are. I don't care if you're just starting this and they're 10 or 11 years old or 12 years old. What they want is your attention. Don't ever be fooled to believe that your kids don't want to talk to you. Your 14 or 15-year-old that's gone quiet, believe me when I tell you, they're talking to someone and probably getting really bad advice. So, man, invest in them. Share your heart. Share your experiences. Obviously, there's got to be things that are relevant to them, but you'll find a way. But you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to work at it and make it count. So with that, we'll talk more later. But I appreciate your time. And again, this is Joe Crawford with 16 Years to Win Her Heart. Thanks.